Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because Paris just gave BTS one of the wildest nights of this entire tour. And by the time you finish this video, you'll understand exactly why the internet basically broke on July 17th. Grab something to drink, get comfortable because we're going deep on this one. Every single detail, every single reaction, everything you need to know about what actually happened at Stade de France. Let's set the scene first because the context here is honestly the whole story. France has been in the middle of its third major heat wave of 2026. We're talking red alert warnings issued across dozens of departments, Paris temperatures climbing past 35 degrees Celsius through the middle of July, and just weeks before that, the country had already hit record highs of over 40 degrees in some regions. This wasn't a minor, it's a bit warm situation. The Eiffel Tower was cutting its visiting hours because of the heat. The Louvre was closing early. Public health officials were issuing actual warnings for people to stay hydrated and avoid unnecessary sun exposure during peak hours. This was a city functioning under genuine, official heat emergency conditions. And into that furnace, on the evening of July 17th, BTS walked out onto the stage at Stade de France. Not a small venue. Not an indoor arena with climate control keeping everyone comfortable. A massive open-air stadium, packed to capacity, for the first of 2 sold-out shows. And this wasn't just any stop on the tour either. This was BTS's first time back at Stade de France in 7 years. 7 years since they last performed at this exact venue. And now they're walking back out onto that same ground as part of the European leg of the ARIRANG World Tour. Arguably the biggest world tour any K-pop group has ever put together. That's already a massive, emotional, full-circle moment before a single note gets played. So picture it. Tens of thousands of fans packed into open stands with almost no shade. No relief from the heat. Standing shoulder to shoulder in France's third heat wave of the year. Waiting for a group they hadn't seen at this stadium in 7 years. The energy alone in that building must have been insane. And then you add the performers themselves. 7 grown men, about to spend 2 hours doing full, high-intensity choreography, under stage lighting, under pyrotechnics, in a stadium that's already baking from the day's heat and hasn't had a chance to cool down even after the sun starts going down. Naturally, something has to give. And what gave, in this case, was the wardrobe. Now look, I want to be really clear about something before we dive into the specific moments, because this matters for understanding why this went as viral as it did. None of what happened that night was some kind of planned stunt. Nobody on the styling team sat down in a meeting and said, "Let's do a reveal night. Let's strip things down for engagement." That's not what this was. This was 7 men trying to survive 2 hours of non-stop physical performance in genuinely dangerous heat conditions, and the wardrobe adjusting out of pure necessity to keep them from overheating on stage. The virality that followed was a side effect of that necessity, not the goal of it. Keep that in mind as we go through this, because it's actually the detail that makes the whole story land the way it does. Let's start with RM, because honestly, this is one of the wildest individual moments to come out of the entire European leg so far. RM performs a chunk of the set in a sheer tank top, thin, breathable fabric, clearly chosen specifically because of the heat. Nothing dramatic about the intention behind it. But the second he's under those stage lights, moving through choreography, sweating the way anyone would in that heat, fans in the crowd and fans watching live streams at home start noticing something through the fabric on his back. Zoomed screenshots start circulating within the hour. Is that a tattoo? Is that new? Nobody had a clean, confirmed look at it before this exact show under this exact lighting in this exact top. And sure enough, within days, it's basically confirmed. RM appears to have gotten a new tattoo, something that hadn't been publicly visible or acknowledged before, and Paris ended up being the accidental venue where the whole internet found out about it in real time. Think about how wild that actually is. This is a completely unscripted, unannounced reveal. No press release. No Instagram post captioned, "Surprise. New ink." Just thousands of phones in a stadium, a sheer tank top, and stage lighting doing what a publicist never could. But that's not even the only RM moment from that night. There's a separate clip, just as widely shared, of him mid-show grabbing a water bottle and absolutely chugging it. Head back, drenched in sweat, completely unbothered by the camera, just trying to survive the heat like anyone else would in that situation. And somehow that clip took off almost as hard as the tattoo reveal. Not because it's scandalous or dramatic in any way, but because it's such a small, human, completely unscripted moment. It says more about how brutal that heat actually was than any official statement from the tour ever could. You watch a member of one of the biggest groups on the planet just desperately drinking water between songs, and it grounds the whole spectacle in something real. Fans loved it specifically because it felt unfiltered, no performance, no persona, just a guy trying to cool down in the middle of a stadium show. So that's RM. Two completely separate viral moments, from the same night, both coming from the same root cause: heat-forcing wardrobe and behavior that nobody planned. Now let's talk about Jungkook, because his story here is actually part of something much bigger that's been building across the entire tour. Since Jungkook's discharge from military service, ARMY has basically been tracking his tattoos the way people follow a slowly unfolding storyline. Every show where he's in something sleeveless, fans are comparing notes. What's new? What's changed? What's more visible now than it was at the last stop? It's become this ongoing, almost collaborative documentation project across the fandom, built show by show, city by city. Paris added a massive new chapter to that story. Between the extreme heat forcing lighter, more open wardrobe choices, and the specific angle and intensity of the stage lighting that night, more of his tattoos were visible than in almost any previous show on this tour. And ARMY noticed immediately. Within hours of the show ending, side-by-side comparison threads were already circulating, screenshots from Paris lined up next to screenshots from earlier tour stops, with fans pointing out exactly what looked new, what looked more filled in, what angle finally gave a clear view of something that had only been partially visible before. What's interesting about Jungkook's situation specifically, compared to RM's and Jimin's, is that this isn't really a single-night viral moment for him. It's cumulative. Each show adds a small piece to a much bigger picture, and Paris just happened to be one of the biggest single additions to that picture so far. It's basically become one of the most consistently followed storylines of the entire ARIRANG Tour. Not one big explosive reveal, but an ongoing one, and Paris gave it a serious boost. And then, obviously, we have to talk about Jimin. You already know what's coming if you've been anywhere near BTS content over the last few weeks of this tour, but let's actually walk through why this specific night hit as hard as it did. The abs have been their own recurring headline for weeks now, basically every stop on this tour producing some version of the same reaction. Paris did absolutely nothing to break that pattern. If anything, it might have been the strongest version of it yet, purely because of how the heat forced the outfits to get lighter and more open the further this tour has pushed into the middle of summer. Clips from the Stade de France show started circulating almost instantly, spreading across every platform within the first hour after the concert wrapped, and the reaction in the comments followed the exact same pattern it always does with him at this point. Half the fandom completely losing their minds, the other half making jokes that these outfit choices should honestly be illegal, that somebody needs to be held accountable for what they're doing to everyone's mental stability. But it wasn't just one clip carrying the whole moment for him either. Between the abs specifically and just the overall intensity of his performance energy that night, the way he moved through choreography, the way he engaged with the crowd despite the brutal conditions, he ended up trending on his own within roughly an hour of the show ending. Multiple separate clips, multiple separate angles, all converging into one massive wave of attention that basically overtook timelines for the rest of that night and well into the next day. So here's where it gets genuinely interesting, and this is the part one really want you to sit with for a second. 3 completely separate members. 3 completely separate viral moments. All happening on the exact same night in the exact same stadium under the exact same brutal heatwave conditions. And none of it was coordinated. None of it was planned by any styling team sitting in a room strategizing engagement. RM's tattoo reveal happened because sheer fabric and stage lighting accidentally exposed something nobody had confirmed before. RM's water-chugging moment happened because it was genuinely that hot and he genuinely needed to cool down. Jungkook's tattoos became more visible because the wardrobe had to adjust for the heat. Jimin's whole moment happened for the exact same underlying reason. Every single one of these moments traces back to one root cause. It was over 30 degrees Celsius in a packed outdoor stadium during an official heat wave, and 7 men had to survive 2 hours of full physical performance in those conditions. That's genuinely the whole engine behind why this exploded the way it did. It wasn't manufactured. It was physics, biology, and a heat wave colliding with a stadium full of phones and cameras that no single team could ever hope to control the framing of. And the online reaction reflected exactly that dynamic. Within hours of the first night, you started seeing fans joking that the tour needed to be cancelled because the visuals were genuinely too much to process. And if you've spent any time in this fandom, you know that particular joke format by now. It's not an actual complaint. It's shorthand for, "This is so good it's almost unfair." A way of expressing total overwhelm through humor rather than literal criticism. That joke was everywhere under every single clip from that night, across every platform, in basically every language ARMY speaks. But underneath all the jokes, some fans did raise something worth taking seriously. There was genuine concern, expressed pretty thoughtfully in a lot of threads, that clips taken completely out of context, stripped of the heatwave explanation, stripped of the red alert warnings, stripped of the fact that this was a legitimate public health situation in France that week, could end up making it look to outside observers like this was some kind of calculated stunt rather than a practical, necessary response to dangerous heat. And honestly, that's a completely fair point to raise. It's worth remembering, especially if you're the one sharing these clips further. These outfits weren't built for shock value or engagement farming. They were built to keep 7 performers from overheating during a full stadium show, in the middle of an actual heat wave that was serious enough to shut down tourist attractions across the entire city that same week. But context aside, the raw numbers speak for themselves regardless of intent. This became one of the single most talked about nights of the entire European leg of this tour, full stop. And it happened on the exact night BTS returned to a venue they hadn't set foot on in 7 years. Stade de France carries real history with this group. This was always going to be a significant, emotional, full-circle moment regardless of anything anyone happened to be wearing that night. The fact that a heat wave turned it into a massive viral wardrobe and body moment on top of that pre-existing milestone is honestly almost poetic when you think about it. 7 years away from this exact ground, and somehow they still found a way to break the internet before most casual observers even got around to talking about the actual set list. And here's the thing, this isn't even close to over yet. There's a second show at the exact same venue the very next night, July 18th, which means there's already a real, tangible chance this becomes a full 2-night story instead of just a single viral evening. If the heat holds through the weekend, and every forecast coming out of Météo France at the time suggested it absolutely would, there's genuinely no reason to expect Night 2 looks any calmer than Night 1 did. Which means everything that happened on the 17th might genuinely just be round one of something bigger. Now, let's zoom out for a second, because I think it's worth understanding how this Paris night fits into the much bigger picture of what's been happening across this entire tour, not just this one specific hot week in France. Every single stop on this tour so far seems to produce its own version of this exact same story. A member catches attention for something completely unplanned, not choreographed, not scripted, not part of any official promotional plan. And it spreads faster and further than anything the actual production team put together for the show itself. And by the next morning, it's already reshaping what fans expect walking into the following city on the schedule. That's been the pattern basically since this tour kicked off, and Paris is just the loudest, most concentrated version of it so far because it happened to 3 members at once on the same night. Jimin's had his own version of this moment basically every single week of this tour at this point, to the degree where it's almost become an expected part of the rotation rather than a surprise anymore, and yet it still hits just as hard every single time. RM, on the other hand, rarely ends up at the center of a moment like this. He's not usually the one generating the specific kind of viral wardrobe or body-related attention, and that's actually a big part of why the tattoo reveal hit as hard as it did. It's unexpected specifically because it doesn't usually happen to him. When it's someone who isn't constantly at the center of this exact type of moment, the surprise factor multiplies the reaction significantly. And Jungkook's tattoos have quietly, steadily become one of the most consistently tracked, most collaboratively documented storylines of this entire tour, evolving show by show in a way that genuinely feels like the whole fandom is watching a slow reveal play out in real time across an entire summer, one stadium at a time. Put all 3 of those dynamics together on the same night in the same stadium under the same historic red alert heatwave, and you get exactly what happened in Paris. A night where the actual concert, the actual set list, the actual songs, the actual emotional weight of returning to a venue after 7 full years away, genuinely took a back seat, at least in terms of immediate online conversation, to 3 separate outfit and body moments that absolutely nobody involved planned to become the headline of the night. That's really the core of this whole story, and I think it's worth remembering the next time one of these clips shows up on your feed looking like some carefully calculated moment engineered purely for reactions. It wasn't. It was a genuine heat wave, an outdoor stadium, and 7 men just trying to physically survive 2 hours of intense choreography without collapsing from heat exhaustion. And somehow, entirely as a byproduct of that very real, very unglamorous struggle, Paris still managed to hand ARMY one of the single most talked about nights of the entire tour so far. RM's tattoo and his very human water-chugging moment, Jungkook's latest chapter in an ongoing tattoo saga, and Jimin doing exactly what Jimin has been doing basically every single week since this tour started. Alright, that's genuinely everything on this one, guys. Let me know down in the comments which moment actually broke you the most. RM's surprise tattoo reveal, RM just desperately chugging that water bottle, Jungkook's expanding ink story, or Jimin doing it again for what feels like the 10th time this tour. And don't sleep on the other 4 either, because V, Suga, J-Hope, and Jin were all out there under that exact same heat, giving their own version of a moment that honestly deserves its own deep dive at some point too. Smash that like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in the next one.